gas and oil drilling onshore and offshore in the Western Hemisphere. Prior to that, he was responsible for Mobil's worldwide supply, trading, and transportation. Immediately prior to retiring, he was the senior Mobil executive responsible for implementing the Exxon-Mobil merger. And he has a BS with honors from the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy. He served as a ship's officer in the Vietnam War, and he holds an MBA from Columbia University. So I just thought you'd like to know his context, and he's come to talk to us a little bit about the issue of hydraulic fracturing and some of the things that we might want to think about with respect to that. So.
Okay, if you could just keep it to about 20 minutes, that would be great.
I'll try to do that. And
you can stand up. You can do whatever you want.
Where's a good place?
Big chair. Big chair.
I don't think I want that.
Go there.
Wherever you're comfortable. Wherever you're comfortable.
We'll just turn.
Let me drop.
Okay.
I'm not going to read them now or take you through them, but I think everyone knows that the Department of Environmental Conservation went through a process of putting out several drafts of a supplemental generic environmental impact statement on gas drilling in New York State. It was not just gas drilling, but that's the focus of everything. That is now in the phase of the DEC collecting comments. And I'm not going to say supplemental and all that stuff. I'll call it the S-guides, which is what most people call it these days. They're in the process of collecting comments, so we really don't know what is coming back as a result of the tens of thousands of comments that they've got in, more than any other thing that they've ever dealt with. What I've given you is the comments that I sent in, and listening to some of your previous discussions, there are a couple things that might tie into your comprehensive plan. One is floodplains. The S-guys has provisions, no drilling within floodplains, which is great. The trouble is we don't have FEMA maps for the floodplains. And I'm not sure how long that will go on, but until we do get them, it's important that some extra buffers are put around the old maps to make sure that we don't flood outside the FEMA maps, as we've done, I think, about 3 times. I don't know what the experience has been here, but most places have gone out 3 times in the last several years. So
I spent Saturday in Sagaya, so.
Yeah. The next one is that you'll find in there is on the distances that drilling can take place from houses or schools. And whether you are in favor of drilling or not in favor of it, you probably don't want a drill rig 100 feet from your house or 150 feet from your kid's school or a hospital or something like that. And it seems like that's something that might work into your thoughts on the comprehensive plan as well. If you don't want it there, you've got 2 towns in the state now that have gone through the process of being sued because they had regulations on where drilling could occur, not how it could occur, but where it could occur. Those cases were won in the first go-round. They may be appealed. Good chance that they will be appealed. Where it comes out, we don't know, but similar cases in mining, mineral mining, have gone to the appellate court and come back stating that the towns can say where things occur, but not how they're done. So some of that might work into your thinking about the comprehensive plan. I'm only going to mention one other thing on the S-guides, the way it was structured, and that is something that would affect everybody in the state in terms of our tax bills. The financial responsibility that's required for plugging and abandoning a well at the end of its life, most of the attention is at the upfront end, and people tend to forget about what happens at the end. But the DEC put in a provision, and they have had it in the past, that companies have to put up some bonding up front what they have in there now is that if you drill a typical shale well, 6,000 feet, top to the bottom to the end of the well, you have to put up $250,000 as a bond. If you do a smaller well, it's much less than that. But $250,000 as a bond to cover the cost of cleaning it up if you walk away without plugging the well. And that's probably pretty close because they've increased the amount of cement, the amount of mud, and everything else that has to be used in plugging a well to try to protect things. The problem is that you only have to pay that on the first 8 wells. So if I'm a driller and I come along and I put in a permit for a well, okay, there goes a $250,000 bond, I get a bond company to put it up. First 8 wells, I do that. The next well, nothing. Next well, nothing.
Makes sense.
Well, so if I've got 100 wells, I've put up $2 million. But if it really costs something like $250,000, it's about that. It'll cost $25,000 to plug all those wells. So at the end of the day, when they're all gone, am I going to pay an extra $23 million, or am I just going to say, well, you can keep that and walk away? If I say keep the money and walk away, then the taxpayers have $23 million to come up with to properly plug those wells, and if you don't plug them, they will leak. So it's something that is not well known, not talked about a lot, and it's probably in everybody's interest to get that one fixed. I thought I would not spend a whole lot of time talking about what's good and bad about the S-guys, because we have to see what they come back with. I thought maybe it would help to give you some idea of how the economics of the industry work and how companies would look at an area like this or other areas where they might drill. There's several ways that people can make money drilling for gas or associated with drilling for gas. Has anyone here been approached by a landman? Somebody knocks on the door and says they want to lease your land. A few of you have. Well, that's one way. That person probably was either working on his own or for a small company, goes around, consolidates some leases, has enough cash to give you that check to start, and then he takes them and sells them to a company that might want to drill here. So that's one way to make it. That company may aggregate leases and sell them again, or not, or it may really be interested in drilling. The next way is to go ahead and drill a well on some of those leases and see if you can improve some reserves. And if you do, then some companies simply sell that. Either sell stock in the company or they sell the whole company, and that's where they make their money. Another way is to go ahead and actually develop it and then sell off producing properties. Most people tend to think that when a driller comes in, they're coming in, they're going to drill the well, get everything together, and produce the gas, sell it into a pipeline for years and years. And that's what the bigger companies tend to do. The Exxon Mobils, the Shells, the Chevron Texacos, they will tend to come in and do that whole process and stay there and be around for a while. The Chesapeake is a big name in that middle category. They have made a lot of money by drilling some wells, proving reserves, and touting those reserves to the market, and they have sold off their reserves to China, India, several European companies, Norwegians and Brits and others, and they